Chair,
Good
we're now
morning.
live.
Good morning. My name is Councillor Kelly. I will be chairing today's meeting. My colleagues, Councillor Block and Councillor Gallant, comprise today's subcommittee. We're also joined by Misha Jalil, who is clerk to the subcommittee and will be minuting the meeting, and Alison Luff, who is legal advisor to the subcommittee. Angelique Garcher, who's the processing team leader, will introduce the report. In accordance with procedure, I shall invite the licensing officer to introduce the report and provide any clarification on factual issues. Then I'll invite the applicant to present the application, answer any questions and call any witnesses. I will also invite those who have made representations to make them answer any questions and call upon any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, I will, accompanied by the legal advisor and the committee democratic service officers, we will retire to consider the decision. The decision will be given at the end of the meeting and confirmed in writing within 5 working days. If the panel cannot reach a decision, you'll be notified in writing within 5 working days of the panel's decision. Just before I ask Ms. Garcher to introduce the report, if I could just go around the room and invite officers to introduce themselves. I believe we've got Mr. Deere here.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Bob Deere, Licensed Compliance and Enforcement Officer for the local authority.
And from the police team?
Good morning, Chair. I'm PC Vicky Hewison on the police licensing team.
Anyone else from the police?
Good morning, Chair. PC Kerry Smart, police licensing. Sorry, I'm losing my voice.
That's great. From the applicants?
I'm Mr. Panchal representing the applicant. The applicant is here with me. I'd like to ask the applicant to just show his face that he's here. Mr. Sasi Dharan is present.
Morning, everyone. My name is Sasi Dharan Ayasami, but you can call me Sasi. That's not a problem.
That's great. Misha, given we have sort of regular attendees, do you have the name of the gentleman who's just introduced himself?
I do, yeah, but it's also on the application.
That's fine. So that's great. Okay. So over to Angeli, please.
Thank you. Good morning, all. So Mr. Sasi Dharan Ayasami has made an application for a new premises licence in relation to W7 Newsagents located at 116 Uxbridge Road, Hanwell, W7 3SU. And the licensable activities applied for are supply of alcohol for off sales, Monday to Saturday, 8 AM to 2300 hours, and Sunday, 10 o'clock to 22:30 hours. 3 representations have been received, and these are from 1, the Metropolitan Police Service, 2, Ealing Council's Licensing, Enforcement and Compliance team, and 3, an interested party. May I also take the opportunity to point out that there is a typo on section 2.0, page 8 of your report. The report states that the premises is not located within a special policy area. This should in fact read that the premises is located in a special policy area. Thank you.
Anthony, you're on mute.
So, yeah, Mr. Panchal, if you'd like to introduce the application on behalf of Mr. Sasi.
Yep, sorry, Chair. Just trying to get things ready. Technical. We're on now. Yeah, Chair, I'm going to briefly put the application details in you and Mr. Sasi Dharan's knowledge about the shop and his brief idea. Okay. Mr. Sasi Dharan has obtained his personal license very recently, but prior to obtaining his license, he's been working at the Ealing Hospital in in the sterilizing and decontamination department. He does the night duties from 8 to 6. He was a prominent member during the COVID time, and he still works for the hospital. He has worked previously for an off license, which is Eddie's convenience store from 2000 to 2009, and the owner sold the shop. He still carried on working for one more year, so he's had a 10 years experience at the shop before he joined the Ealing Hospital's contamination, sterilizing and decontamination section. He did his course there and he's qualified to get that job as a supervisor. His regular visits during his time from 2000 to 2010 working at the shop and working at the hospital was made regular visits at Henwell News. He used to buy his stuff and everything from Henwell News. And during the period when Henwell News lost his license and that, he came to realize that the license was lost and the shop was up for sale. So he inquired and managed to get the shop through. And that is how he was brought to us to put the application into the council. Chairman, you have heard, or you must have heard that this, prior to this hearing, there was a hearing scheduled before, but due to the unfortunate incident happened at the shop, the fire and that, the hearing is moved to today's date. Now, during the fire period, you must have had a document circulated to you this morning regarding the funds raised to get the shop back into its state. Mr. Sasitharan had obtained the shop on a license to occupy in March 2021. So during the fire incident, he was the license to occupy the shop. He was there in the shop. And we then applied for a license in April. And during that time, the fire occurred on the 7th of June. And the matter, some of his stock got burnt down, and the building had a disaster with the equipment and that. The local community gave a full support to this to the shop. The shop's freeholder is Mr. Thivasaran, from whom Mr. Sasitharan is obtained the license to occupy, which is going to be converted into a lease if the license is granted today. So the matter that the fundraising that you see, which you have got document in front of you, which I was going to bring in, I'd like to thank Bob Deere for bringing the document in front for your attention. That funds have gone to the freeholder, Mr. Thivasaran, to repair the shop, although it's not going to be sufficient enough, but it's his own problem to get the shop up and running for Mr. Sasitharan, who thinks that the shop will be up and running if the license is granted and the shop is ready to operate, will not be up and running in maybe August or early September. But Mr. Sasitharan is aware of the 4 licensing objectives. He has full knowledge of the 4 licensing objectives because he's trained and his past experience in 2000 to 2009. And during that period, the Licensing Act got changed in 2003, and he's aware of those licensing matters and that, Chairman. I would like to bring to you a few matters regarding the objections that you see. My bundle is from the previous hearing, so I have a different numbers on the bundles. I'm looking at page 79 of 88 from the previous for Mr. Vicky Hewson's representation. Chairman, Mr. Sasitharan is aware of how to tackle street drinkers. What my actual worry is on the representation of page 88 to page 81, which is the objection brought in by Vicky Hewson. that we haven't got any evidence about the street drinkers. All we've got is a hearsay. We have no evidence. If you look at the guidance on section 9.42, the mates in 9.43 and 9.44. So it brings a bit of a worry to my kind. But anyway, he is aware and he can answer those questions when he's asked of how he's going to tackle the street drinkers, because we in our operating schedule, we've already mentioned that he's not going to sell alcohol above 5.5%. And he was going to have, if you look at page 61 of 88, the operating schedule, and we mentioned the goods that he's going to buy, and he's not going to sell anything above 5.5. And he will be able to answer those questions. So, Chairman, that's where we are at the present moment. What also surprises me that I've looked at the objection by Mr. Yoel Gordon, the councillor, Labour councillor in the Eltham area. And the most surprising thing that I've noticed that during the fire period, I haven't had the local councillor meet the freeholder or Mr. Sasitharan, whose application is in. So that gives me a bit of a concern that why was there no communication carried out by the councillor during that, because the fundraising was carried out by more than about about 100 people. I've got a GoFundMe document which was on the Facebook. So there are a lot of people, local community, who have supported this fundraising.
Mr. Pancho, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We can explore these themes as the hearing goes along. It's the substantive application that I want to hear about. These things will come up. You can talk about why people didn't do certain things at certain times. So if you could perhaps bring your application details to a conclusion, and we'll be able to expand on these matters. Thank you.
I don't have anything much to say on the application at the moment.
Fine. Okay. Fine. We'll move along then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I don't know who wants to go first. I'm storming the police. Police team. Vicky and PC Smart, if you'd like to, any questions for the applicant and Mr. Panchal?
Yeah, can I just hear from the applicant himself, like what experiences he had in running a licensed premise?
First of all,
sorry, Chairman, I'm going to ask the applicant to come and take the seat.
Thank you.
sorry, morning once again.
Yeah, hello, sir. So
Update.
obviously the police team would just like to know a bit more about what experience you have in licensed premises, either working or fully responsible for. So whatever you can share with us would be useful for us in the police team. Thank you.
I mean, the first thing, main important thing is like how you tackling with the street drinkers. The first thing, like
No, just your previous experience. We'll come to those sort of questions as well. I mean, I realise this is a challenge for you, and you're not used to this format. But in terms of, if you were to ask me, I worked in hospitality. I was responsible for serving drinks when I worked in another field. What can you share in terms of what you've done in the past?
Yeah, I was starting working for Eddie's convenience store. I mean, like selling bus passes, off license, alcohols, newspapers, and opposite Ealing Hospital. And I didn't have my personal license that time, but I was working under my management, my manager. I mean, I know kind of like a law, how to sell the alcohol. What you can't sell alcohol, like example, for instance, for like underage, for children or under age 18. You see, like you're asking like proof of address. Passport or anything with a photograph, a valid passport, a stuff or hologram card or something like that, right? Sometimes they can be get aggressive. What in that way, I just tell them in a nice way, of polite things, just leave the premises. You see, sometimes they can abuse stuff like that. I just have to quiet and just get on with it.
And how long did you work in the store for?
Since 2000, year 2000 to 2010. But my boss, he retired in 2009, so I worked for extra 1 hour for new management for 1 year before I left that place. So I started working for a hospital as a sterilizing and decontamination services, which is like we are sterilizing instruments for the theaters.
Okay, so you haven't worked actually in a convenience store or a licensed premise since 2010, is that correct?
I moved on from 6th of April, I start working for hospitals from until currently, right now, you see.
Okay, so you've kind of had an 11-year break, is that fair to say? Are you familiar with the street drinking problem in the area? Are you local to the area?
Yes, I'm local to it's my home anyway. Hanwell is my back home anyway. So I lived there for over 20 years now. So I I know all the neighbors, Hanwell is my, the best place where I do my shopping, Lido, post office, everything. Even my previous Hanwell News is my local shops as well. You see, so I know the whole people around that area. I do see sometimes you got street drinkers by the opposite, like Tower Clock and stuff like that. You see, but recently I see some changes. The police are doing more work now. They trying to tackle them, just not to drinking on the street and stuff like that. But there are a few people still there, like obviously like everywhere now. Like Ealing was stealing, especially like Friday night, Saturday night when you come for, like weekends, people are drinking everywhere. Forget about the COVID time, but I'm talking the previous, before years and years and stuff like that. People drink, the alcohols, they're drinking everywhere and stuff like that. We do understand that, you see. But police are trying their best to keep the place safe.
Okay, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware there was a street drinking problem, and as you say, you're local to the area, so you see it all the time. How are you going to manage the street drinking problem?
Put it this way. Let's say an alcoholic person comes to my shop, right, and he start abusing my stuff and asking for credit, or he's just saying, okay, I'm going to take this and stuff like that. First thing I'll say, look, you can't do that. This is a shop. You need to come and buy this and that politely. Like sometimes they will get aggressive as well, but in a manner way, right? You can't. It's better to keep it nice and simple. Just tell them to leave the premises, right? And before you calling, this is the thing you need to manage before you call the police or something like that.
Okay. In regards to the that you've got the license, is that right, to occupy the shop? Is that correct?
Yes.
You've got the license to occupy the shop. What about the previous premises license holder, Mr. Kadivan Karen? Does he still live above the shop?
He lives above the shop, but he's not running the shop. I'm running the shop, but he's my landlord.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Tiwagaran, you're talking about Mr. Tiwagaran?
Yeah, he was the previous premises license holder when the license was revoked. There is something on their operating schedule to say that the previous owner wouldn't have any day-to-day running of the shop.
No.
Would you be happy for us to add a condition that his name is put on there, that he has no involvement in the shop?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Because
I
do you
mean,
blame-
yeah, because at the
blame
end of the day, I'm
on that?
running the shop for myself, for my family. You see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I've got no further questions, Chair.
Thank you, Officer. Mr. Dear.
Thank you, Chair. Just one or two quick questions. Obviously, the premises, Mr. Pancho in his representation, or his presentation, sorry, stated that you've been working in the shop.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, it's terrible what happened, you know, with the arson. The shop is insured?
The shop was insured. Yeah, it is insured. My landlord is dealing with that. You see,
And that's in Mr. Vera Karen's name, is it?
First of all, I would like to say thank you to the fire brigades and the police. They came straight away. They tackled the fire. It was quite bad, really. I mean, I was aware about it, but I told my staff, I was there until like 5:30. Then I told my staff that I'm going to Luton to pick up my dad because he just came back from Malaysia. So he was under quarantine. So after in my sister's place. So I told them, look, I'm just gonna go pop into Luton to pick up my dad. So I will come back. When I'm on my way back, there was kid calling me because I was driving. I can't answer the phone and stuff like that. When I reached over there and I called them, they said the shop was burned. So I was get shocked. They say this is unexpected. It's like an arson attack. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. So I have to rush, come back to Hanwell when I saw that incident happen, things like this. So I was a bit disappointed because it's never been happened like this at all in our area. It's the first time I've seen like this.
Okay, sorry, the question was, the insurance policy is in Mr. Vera Karen's name, is that correct?
Yes.
You've got, you're allowed to occupy by some letter or whatever from Mr. Vera Karen. What happened to your stock, or was it not your stock? Was Mr. Vera Karen's stock?
No, I bought the stock when I paid the stock for £5,000 last time when I taken the shop, and because things happen like this, the shop burned down. Mr. Tivagaran, he's gonna deal with that because he's got the insurance. So I prefer him to do that. For him to do that, you see, to deal with the.
Okay, so
once pardon?
You paid £5,000.
Yeah.
For stock, for alcohol that you weren't entitled to or allowed to display or sell. Is that correct?
No, I can't hear you. Say that again.
You say you paid £5,000 for stock.
Yeah.
Why did you pay £5,000 for stock, including alcohol, which you're not allowed to sell or display?
I can't hear you. Say that again. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Right, I'll try again. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Right. You paid £5,000 for stock.
Yes.
Did that include alcohol?
No, without alcohol. There wasn't alcohol at all.
So you paid £5,000 for what?
For the stock, like, you know, for the drinks, what we had in the shop. This, well, I mean, the stock amount, like the snacks, the chocolates, the cigarettes, that kind of things only I pay for that. But there wasn't any alcohol. I can't pay more than that, you see. The stock value is so less.
No questions, Chair. Thank you. It's time.
Sorry, yeah, thank you, Mr. Dear, and thank you for your responses, sir. Do we have any questions to the applicant? Councillors Gallant?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I've actually got a couple of questions. One is a technical one. The application is for hours that are slightly outside core hours, and I just wondered why that is. Why they're slightly outside core hours? Is there any reason for that? in the application. The other question I had is about underage purchase of alcohol. What measures you're going to take, or you would take against that? Are you aware of the Challenge 25?
Challenge 25, because it. All right. Okay. So I need to answer. Right. Challenge 25. I mean, it's like a you're talking about. It's like a under 80. If you're not sure about the customers, under 8, what above 8, what 18 years old. So it's kind of like you need to ask for ID or stuff like that. You see. Yeah. First of all, the proof of ID. I mean, you know, a valid ID. Like driving license or passport or hologram or something like that, etc. You see, otherwise I have to refuse for them to sell the alcohol. They looks probably sometimes they looks like above 25, but they are below 25, or I mean, but below 18. They can be looked like an adult sometimes. Some of the teenagers or youngsters, I would say. If I'm not really unsure what's their age are. So the best thing I'll ask for ID.
It might be fair if Mr. Panchow answers the questions about the licensable hours. Mr. Panchow?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair. I can go through the licensable hours. I think they are from the core licensing hours by the council.
Yeah, I think
they are on the core licensing hours, Chairman. 8 to 23 hours.
Not quite. My understanding. Alison, could you confirm what our core hours are in the borough? Alison, she'll come in shortly.
Sarah, if it's useful, I've put the core hours in my representation. If that's useful.
What? Yeah, okay. So refer us to which page, please.
So the core hours will be
page 40,
Monday
48,
to Thursday, 8 till 11:30. Friday to Saturday and bank holiday Sundays, 10 till midnight, and other Sundays 11 till 23:30. So I think it's probably the opening times that are slightly in excess. In fact, the closing times are earlier than the court hours.
Let's unpack that question for you, Mr. Panchow. Why does your applicant want to sell alcohol from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock when outside of core hours?
Chairman, can I come back to you again on the core hours?
No. I mean, that's the question now. You know, why? Unless you want to change your application, why serve between 8 and 10? I think, would that be a fair question now?
That's just at the weekends, Chair. Just so you're aware. Yeah. Monday to Thursday is 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Chairman, we are following the core hours. I'm just a little bit surprised because on Sunday we got 10 o'clock to 10:30. So that covers the core hours, and on all others 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock are core hours of the Ealing Council. But if this committee wishes to move to 9 o'clock, we have actually no problems. I don't think my client would object to that. So we leave the committee to decide if you want us to open at 9 o'clock or sell the alcohol at 9 o'clock.
So may I come in, Chair, for a second?
Yeah, please.
It was the application says 10 to 10:30 on Sunday, and the core hours are 11 to 10:30 on Sunday. And I mean, I know it's only 1 hour, but you know, is there a reason for that not actually aligning perfectly with council's core hours? That's all the question is.
Chairman, we are happy to amend it from 11 o'clock to 22:30 on a Sunday, if that is the core hours of the Ealing Council.
Okay, I think does that help, Councillor Gallant?
Yes, thank you very much. That was the question. I just wanted to know if there was a reason for that.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much. Let me just Councillor Block, questions to the applicants?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the comments made about the police representation and having no evidence. I think I just want to ascertain that you're aware that it is a special policy area and that there is a public space protection order. Now, these would not be put in place unless there was evidence from the police and so forth. So I just want to make sure that you understand the area and the concerns and what's happening there. And, you know, and you know, obviously when I hear you doubting that there's evidence, that leads me to feel very concerned. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor. I tend to attend a lot of hearings and I tend to understand the guidance section 182. Under that guidance, we normally feel when we do the hearings that there should be sufficient evidence provided to the committee when it comes to mentioning anything that there's a criminal activity going on into some places, and it is necessary for a responsible authority to have those kind of evidences with them. They're there, they're the candidates, so they should have been provided for us to look at them, and then we could come back to say how we would tackle it. On the other hand, if you look at it, we're not increasing under the cumulative impact zones that normally the councils tend to put up in their policies. It is to avoid any new premises coming up into that area, which would cause a problem. Now, this premises previously had a license in that premises, so we're not increasing another license in the area, and that is something that you need to look at when you're making your decision. That we are not increasing another license. This license used to be there; it has been revoked, so we are not increasing any new licenses. We agree that it does help in the cumulative impact zone to reduce licenses when it comes into. But here we're not increasing the license, we are carrying on. We are also making sure that the core hours and the policies of the councils are followed. The applicant understands the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, which is very, very important in all the cases. So I think that's what my question would be, or my answer would be, sorry.
Chair, can I come back?
Yeah, please. Yeah, go for it,
Okay.
Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so what I'd like to really ask you then is that without the evidence, are you suggesting that there is not problem with antisocial behaviour, criminal activity and street drinking there? Because obviously, you know, we want to have people who will run businesses who know the area and will be able to identify any problems and make sure that they're not adding to that. So it doesn't fill me with confidence that you're saying that you don't have evidence. Obviously, as councillors and as the police and council services, we know our borough, we know our areas, and you know, a PSBO would not be put in a place where there was not identified problems. So if you could just come back to me and let me know if you do understand that there's problems in the area that need to be tackled, or you're saying that because you have not been provided with specific evidence from the police, you're doubting that there is a problem.
Sorry, Chairman. Chairman. Answer to that: we're not doubting Vicky's objections totally. We're not saying Vicky is wrong. We have worked along with Vicky Houston in many other applications. We're not doubting about what we are saying, but we are saying it would have been nicer if we had some evidence produced in front to let us think that, yeah, we could tackle those matters and see how bad the incidents are. On the other hand, we made sure, and my client has just made sure to you, that he has lived in the area for the last 20 years. So he's a resident in the area. He understands the people there. He understands what the street drinkers are and how he could tackle. That's the most important part that we look at. But we're not doubting what Vicky Houston says. We work along with her. We work along with Kerry and everybody. So that's what we are saying. We're saying it would have been nicer if we had some evidence there, so our client could look into it and maybe tackle it.
Okay. You're very welcome to do anything else at this moment, Councillor Block. You'll be very welcome to come back in.
That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a question for Mr. Thiever. Sorry, not Mr. Thiever. The applicant.
Mr. Sasikaran.
Mr. Sass, yeah, Mr. Sasitharan. Although it's about Mr. Thiever. But who will be, assuming the application is granted and the shop is reopened in September, who will be working in the shop?
Yeah, obviously me. Yeah. Well, hi. Well, obviously it's me because I'm the one who bought the business, so I need to run the business by myself. You see, probably I'm
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll be working in the shop, obviously. Even if it's your only job, you'll still need other people working in the shop.
Well,
So who do you propose to, who do you have in mind to work in the shop?
Well, I've got 2 staff at the moment. They're working before March and up to before the incident happened. I'm going to keep them because they've been trained and
Speak loudly.
yeah, they've been
Yeah,
trained.
fine, I can hear you fine. I can hear you fine.
Yeah, they've been trained, and one of my girls, the staff, she got a personal license as well. She knows how to tackle the customer. Serve the customer, tackle the street drinkers and stuff like that. So I prefer to keep the experienced staff. If I'm going to employ a new staff at the moment, I need to train them, and it's a hustle for me at the moment.
No, okay, so obviously that's one person, and you've mentioned they have a personal license holder and they've worked in the shop before.
Yeah.
What's that person's name?
Priya.
And their surname?
Surname of Priya.
Oh, can't imagine.
Priya's surname.
Priya's surname. Wait, hang on. Oh, I need to go on to because I put Priya on my phone.
Okay, no, fine. That's fine.
It's hard to pronounce. It's a.
Okay. I'm glad you said that and given that it gives us some room there. So Priya, does Priya have any is she related to any to the freeholder, Mr. Thiever?
Is he related to the freeholder?
No,
I'm sorry?
not at all. I don't think so. No.
You don't
Not
think
at
so?
all. No.
Okay. So given Mr. Thiever, one of the conditions will be that he won't have any running in the shop. So you're confident that Priya does not have any personal or pecuniary relationship with
No, not at all. No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Only that he's her boss now, isn't he?
Well, the previous one, because I'm her boss at the moment.
Okay, fine. All right. So then they're not related. So so you're going to the shop is going to be refitted.
Yes.
How will Mr. Thiever access his home above the shop without going through the shop? Can he do so?
Yeah, I think what at the back they got the access. I think. Is it?
I don't know. See, one wants to have reassurances about Mr. Thiever's involvement, and one of the things that would help would be that he would not need to access the retail premises. How can that be achieved? Can it be achieved?
Yes, it can be achieved because at the end of the day, like I said, I bought the business from him, so I don't want him to get involved in my business at all. So you see,
will he not be walking through your shop?
No, I don't think so. No way. There's no way because he's got access.
How does he get to his home?
behind the building.
So he's got an access.
Yeah,
He's
his own
got-
access. Yeah, to the flat.
He's got his own access to the flat. That's what he's saying. Sorry, Chairman.
Yeah, but is that a new new accommodation, or is that something that is that a new layout, or is that something?
No. Well, there is an alleyway going behind his building.
There is an alleyway.
Okay, so
behind
so
the
you
building.
come. So describe it to me. So we're looking at the front of the shop. To the left is the bookmakers and the pub. So do you go that side around the back of that pub, or is the access down the side of Boston Road? I believe they're the
When you
two.
come to the traffic light, there's a corner shop, a cafe. You turn left where the E8 goes. There's a first bus stop by the after the kebab shop.
It's
There's
an
a bus
archway.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how he accesses it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very useful. Is there anybody here, perhaps the officers, perhaps Mr. Dear, are you able to substantiate that, Mr. Dear?
Yes, Chair. There's if you go into Boston Road, there is an archway leads to a garage. Down there.
There is a
layway that goes past it, and there is a back gate into the back of the premises.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So that would be so Mr. Thiever would have no reason to be on the retail premises.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Okay. That's useful. Just a question, just to Mr. Panchow. Is it common for local councillors to contact applicants when there's fires at premises? Because obviously you were talking about the councillor.
Sorry, are you asking us? Sorry, Chairman.
I'm asking you, Mr. Panchow. Is it you would?
Well, sorry, I deal with, as you're aware, I deal with so many off licenses and clubs in the area, not only in Ealing, but in Hillingdon and everywhere. And in so many circumstances, we do tend to come across to the clients to say, do get in touch with your local councillor, because it's very helpful, because the local councillors tend to help businesses in looking after them, or they have any problems.
Okay, thanks, Clive, because that's not what you said. What you said was the councillors didn't get in contact with your clients. So, did your applicant get in contact with the local councillors?
Yeah. On the other hand, what my initial presentation, sorry, Chairman, was when you said the local councillor, there was a fire incident where the local community also got together. I'm just saying that it is a chance for the councillor himself to approach.
Sure. So, I mean, thankfully, we don't have regular fires in the borough. We don't have many instances of arsons in shops. So I have a dog and he's barking. I beg your pardon. He's so you sort of said the councillor didn't get in contact. So I just wondered, was that your expectation that the local councillors?
Chairman, my expectation as a resident, let me put it like this, as my expectation as a resident, if there wasn't a huge incident happen at my house, and if my local councillor didn't come and see me to help me or talk to me, I'll be very disappointed next time when I go up to vote, whether I should vote for that councillor or not. As simple as that. Because you being a councillor, I'm sure you would be concerned with your borough or your area. Your first concern would definitely be to go and see your person who's voting for you. or supporting you, because you're the councillor who's looking after that. And my worry at this very instance is the councillors objected to the application when the application was put in, and when there was a fire. I'm surprised that the councillor hasn't approached the client. That is what my question was initially in my presentation. That why did the councillor not approach the client immediately when you've seen 100 people did a fundraising for the premises and were concerned, the local people? I think the councillor should be concerned at the same time. That's what my view is.
Okay.
I'd love to have you as my councillor, because I know you would definitely look after me. But
yeah, okay, all right. I just wanted. I mean, it's not sure why, but you were suggesting that the councillor should have done more. But really, if people wanted something from the local councillor, I would say that it was your client. Your client can always get in contact with the authorities and his local his elected representatives.
I'm sure
he didn't do so. So I would say I would put that back into your client and perhaps you, Mr. Panchal. You certainly would know how to contact the councillors, and you did not do so after the fire either. So, but you've made your point about the expectations of the councillor, but I'm making my point about your expectations as a licensing agent, knowing who the councillors are. So that was meant to be.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Chair. I know we're not discussing about this application. I'm generally discussing about the councils. So this is my general view on what I would expect from my councillor. That's what I'm saying. That's my view, that I would expect if there were so many residents prepared to come forward and do a fundraising for such an event. I think this would be a glorious chance for the council also to come forward and say, yes, I'm here for you. That's my view. Sorry. So,
You're muted, Chair.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute there. Okay, so like you said, it's Mr. Panchal's view, not the view of his applicant. Councillor Block. Questions? If I although I didn't really phrase it as a question, so let's do our best.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Panchal, obviously it's great that the community rallied around, and that's one of the things that we love about our communities and our borough. However, the concerns here are under the licence objectives, and it's about crime and disorder and public safety. And of course, it's about the sale of alcohol and how that impacts the local area where we know there's already a problem. So, it's about identifying that there's a problem there and how you will mitigate that, because you said it's that it's not about increasing, this is the same, but actually that there isn't a license there now, so it would be an increase. We know that even without Hanwell News with a license, there's still a problem. So for us to give you this license would in effect be increasing again. So you need to really tell us how you would mitigate adding to that problem, because obviously we're talking about sales from early in the morning to late at night, and it's right by where people are drinking on the streets, and there's antisocial behaviour and criminal activity, which actually has affected your premises. You say there's no evidence. We know there is evidence. We're talking about arson at the very premise that we're discussing. So the onus really is on you to make us believe that there will be no added antisocial behaviour or public safety concerns due to this license that you're asking for.
Well phrased, Councillor Block. Mr. Panchal.
Yes, sorry, Chairman. you heard from my client that he understands how to tackle the drink problem, that he has just explained to you how well he's going to be robustly promoting the 4 licensing objectives. When it comes to the hours, although we are on the core hours, but we are happy to reduce the hours in the morning that you are expecting. We'll leave that to the committee to decide, but we are happy to reduce it to start from 9 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock, which is under the core hours. You heard from my client that he understands the 4 licensing objectives and he's going to be promoting it robustly and training the staff.
Councillor Block, I'm going to let you have another explore again if you wish.
Yeah, just the last point, the very last point from me is to just take on Councillor Kelly's point that we know that the leaseholder lives on the property, has had the license revoked, and will continue to live in the property. I just want to know what the relationship is between the applicant and, can you really reassure us that it will not be us, in effect, Mr. Seaver will continue to have an influence on the premises?
Sorry, Chairman, the client has explained, and we can explain in detail if you want to. He has no relation with Mr. Thiwa, apart from landlord and tenant, and he doesn't wish to have that relation of any business dealings with him, which we are clearly happy to have that as a part of the condition of the license.
Thank you, Councillor Block. Thank you, Mr. Panchal. Mr. Gallant, you have got your hand up there patiently.
Thank you. It's a virtual one, Chair. So
that's right, yeah.
Yes, Mr. Measure, could we see Mr. Sassy for 1 second? I just want to ask him a question about practical measures. He's there. Could I see him for 1 second?
Yes. Yes.
You come on the. Thank you very much.
Camera.
Come on the camera. Yeah. Okay. My question is to the applicant. I've seen your plan, I've seen your layouts, and I've seen you got the beers at the back of the store. The beer is the big issue. You've said you're not going to sell anything above 5.5%. 5.5% is still enough to get people intoxicated. So my question is, what other measures are you going to take to make sure that we don't get these sales of cans to people who are going to convert it to abuse and public urination? What else are you going to do?
No single cans, no miniatures, not above like 5.5, like, what they call Castrol, strong bows, special brews, etc., something like that. No, I'm not gonna what's that, KC something, I don't know, Castro. I mean, well, we can't sell them, you see. I'm not going to sell that kind of alcohol above more than 5.5%.
Okay, just digging a bit deeper, how are you going to sell, how many in what quantities are you going to sell cans in that case?
2.
In twos?
Two cans. Well, I mean, below 5.5.
So you're going to sell them in double cans, and you're going to cut packing ribbons and so on to make that happen. That would be the plan.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh.
PC Smart, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is just to Mr. Panchal. Mr. Panchal?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, go on.
You said that the police haven't produced any evidence in relation to the street drinking problems. You've represented quite a number of off licences in Hanwell, so you're fully aware of the street drinking problems that are in Hanwell around the clock tower. So I don't agree that you're not aware with what the street drinking problems are, because you've represented quite a numerous number of properties. So to say that you're not aware and we haven't produced the evidence, you know what the problems are in Hanwell.
Yes, Chairman, I did mention that I am aware, Kelly, that there are problems. I'm not saying that there are no problems, but what I'm trying to say to you is problems do tend to go up and down. Sometimes when the policies are come up for renewals, we look at the evidences of the areas to work out whether the CIZ zone should carry on or should be removed. That's a matter when we discuss the new policies come up. But those evidences help in getting those policies in place. And that is what I was trying to get more evidence to see how bad the area has become recently. And only evidence is carried out by the police show us how bad the area gets.
Okay, but you know that the it's in a special policy area anyway, so for it to,
yes, I am aware.
To be in place, there has to be an issue, and it's an ongoing issue that the police continually to work hard to try and deal with. So, and the shop is adjacent to where the clock tower is anyway.
And that is one of the reasons, if you look at the operating schedule that we've put up and we've discussed with the client, that to make sure that we are looking at the area and what problems are. And hence, that is why in the operating schedule, we tend to ask the clients to make sure that you will not be able to sell miniatures, to avoid street drinkers, to make sure you don't sell single cans. Those matters are discussed with our clients before we put the application in to say, look, it is in a special area and you will need to follow this to avoid having street drinkers and that. So we train the clients in making sure it helps the area as well as it helps everybody.
Okay, I just disagree with your comment saying that we've not produced the evidence. The evidence is there. The premise is within the special policy area, and it's an ongoing and it's an historical problem. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Officer. I know there's a bit of back and forth in the seating arrangements, and I thank you. I just want to ask your clients if you could sit down, if you don't mind.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's just, although we are on one table. So
no, fine. No, if I could just see him, just so he can hear the question. So, thank you. When one of the conditions is no miniatures, why might that be?
Because because of one of the main reasons, because it's a miniature, it's a looks like a little pocket thing, and people can get drunk. I mean, obviously, they will get drunk, obviously, but because put it this way.
No, that's absolutely fine. It's that word drunk.
Yeah.
That it gets people drunk.
Yeah, they look small, but they'll get drunk.
Yeah, that's fine.
It goes like a shot.
Yeah, well, it just okay. And so when you refuse somebody, obviously you don't you don't ring the police unless they exhibit some sort of over aggressive behavior. But then what do you do when you refuse somebody and they leave the shop? What else do you do?
Well, I need to write down in an incident book, the refusal book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. I don't have any questions, but obviously we have, explored several things through those questions. I just want the police, before we go into representations, does anybody have any questions for the clients? If I don't hear anybody, everyone's shaking their head. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, because that's my way of looking around the room. So, yes, we'd like to have some representations from the police team first, please. And then we'll go to Mr. Deere from the local authority, and then we'll go to the applicants. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. As we've already heard, the premises is located within the Althorne Special Policy Area, and there is also a Public Spaces Protection Order in Hanwell and the whole of Ealing Borough. The area is known to frequent street drinkers, particularly around Hanwell Clock Tower, which is across the road from this premises. Since July 2020, there has been a spike in antisocial behaviour occurring in and around this area, consisting of mainly street drinkers situating themselves on the benches opposite the Duke of York pub. This happens from as early as 7 AM until late in the evening. It takes approximately 1 minute to walk from the applicant's premises to the benches. The individuals usually arrive with shop-bought alcohol, including bottled cider, spirits, and they drink throughout the day. This usually ends up with the individuals passing out in the middle of the public highway drunk, or on the benches outside the Duke of York pub. With street drinking comes associated antisocial behaviour such as urinating, defecating, verbal remarks made towards female and young children, and more concerning, some public indecency. To try and solve the problem of street drinking, the Police Safer Neighbourhood team have and still continue to issue a number of tickets to prevent it from happening, but this seems to make little difference to the antisocial behaviour in the area. The Metropolitan Police object to this application outright on the basis that the area is well known for street drinkers. If this premises is giving a premises licence, it will only increase antisocial behaviour in the area and will lure more street drinkers to it rather than deter them. And the licensing objectives will not be promoted. Therefore, the police make our representations to the application and object under the 4 licensing objectives.
Thank you very much, Officer. Mr. Dear.
Thank you, Chair. I can only make a representation under 3 of the licensing objectives here. That's the prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance and protection of children from harm. Obviously, I work for the licensing compliance and enforcement team here at Ealing Council, and this is an application for a new premises in the middle of the newly adopted special priority area in Hanwell. Under that policy that was adopted by the full committee in July 2020, there is a rebuttable presumption to refuse all new premises licences, and paragraph 212 states that the policy is intended to be strictly applied. Exemptions must be generally exceptional. One possible circumstance is to substitute one premises for another, where the size and location of the second new premises, however, this premises will be 30% larger as works have been carried out to extend into the storeroom at the back. The hours sought are the same as the 2 previous licences that were granted, and the capacity obviously has undoubtedly increased. Paragraph 213 of the policy says exemptions are unlikely to be made on the grounds of that the premises will be well managed. The applicant has not previously held a premises or personal licence and has never been a designated premises supervisor. Another one is there are no dwellings nearby. Well, we've already heard that the newly agreed, should we say, who's never said it before, the newly agreed freeholder lives above with his wife, so that there are numerous residential premises about. The effect of adopting a special priority policy is to create a rebuttable presumption that application for the grant or variation of premises licence or club premises certificates, which are likely to add to the existing cumulative impact, will normally be refused or subject to certain limitations following relevant representations. Unless the applicant can demonstrate in the operating schedule that there will be no negative cumulative impact on one or more of the licence objectives. Applicants should give consideration to potential cumulative impact issues when setting out steps that they will take to promote the licence objective in their application. Well, the applicant has in his operating schedule considered high strength beer to the point that beers above 5.5 will not be sold in single cans. But in my opinion, it demonstrates that a large part of his business will be alcohol led, and he will be able to sell multiple cans up to the 5.5. The plan that is attached shows that that alcohol will be the main products and will amount to 75 to 80% of the stock in the shop. It states that persons involved in the previous premises will not be allowed involved in a new venture. However, as I said, the wife of the first premises licence holder, stroke, freeholder, stroke, I'll call him a disgraced licensee because he will no longer hold another licence, was working in the premises and is still working, or was still working in the premises before this fire. Studies have shown 1.38 of the guidance. Studies have shown that the number of off-licence in an area is a factor in prevalence of street drinking. Local data shows that there are instances of alcohol-related crime and antisocial behaviour occurring in parks and open space in the borough in close proximity to off-licence premises. Within a 250-metre radius of the clock tower, there are currently 10 premises permitted for off-sales and 3 for on-sales. One of the off-licences is being reviewed and is trading an appeal. And this premises has previously been licensed twice, reviewed twice, and had their appeals dismissed twice, all funded by the freeholder. These premises are well known to licensed authorities for those reasons. It's situated within the Hanwell Safer Communities Cluster, which I have responsibility for licensed premises, and it suffers from alcohol-related problems with a high density of street drinkers and reports of antisocial behaviour. The borough currently has over 1,060 licences now, 45% of which are off licences. This scenario is identified as suffering from alcohol fueled ASB 3 years ago in the Elthorne Police team, Hanwell Safer Communities team, and both licensing teams with the police and licensing Ealing Council through high visitor patrols and licence visits saw a decrease in the number of street drinkers and ASB in the area. Well, due to the large number of complaints and concerns, the licensing team have visited the off licences in Hanwell regularly to educate and remind the owners and staff of their roles and responsibilities to ensure compliance. Recent visits have shown a complete non-compliance to conditions in 7 of those 10 premises. Over the past 18 months, I've witnessed the problems returning to the area to such an extent that the area around the clock tower is awash with street drinkers, especially around the benches and the local open spaces when the sun shines. And when it rains, they move under the canopies of the local shops. If I can see that when I drive past, I'm sure somebody who's walking, a local resident, somebody goes to a shop regularly, will be able to see that without even standing still. The premises have not been licensed for a while, and as mentioned, was previously an off licence that served the local street drinkers. This application is not just a new buyer having emerged after seeing a business opportunity, so I do not know why no lease or management agreement has not been offered. But I believe that it's because the freeholder is, in fact, which has now been agreed and admitted, that the first licence holder still is the freeholder and still resides above and has complete control over his business. By granting a premises licence, this applicant will only allow to serve strong, cheap alcohol to those persons who have no interest in the local community. It's my recommendation that the application is refused in full, so do not believe there are any conditions that relay my concerns. And I've seen or heard nothing today that will change my mind. Just to quickly go back through to pick up a couple of points. It's been mentioned about, well, it's not a new premises, it's just an old one being reinvented. Well, the policy and the guidance says that one of the exceptions is that to substitute one premises for another. Well, it's not happening. It's where I, say, as an off licence, have one shop next door, the lease is going, so I swap it to the shop next door. That's what substituting means. It doesn't mean because a premises has had their licence revoked twice that they can reopen. That's not substitution. We've heard from all sides, like yourselves, the local councillor who took the time to make a representation after speaking to the Elthorne Safer Neighbour team. So he's obviously done his homework. And this arson just proves that these premises are a crime generator. I've never known in my 40 years of enforcement work a premises being set alight because refusal of alcohol. Why didn't they go next door or to one of the other 9 other off licenses in the area? There's obviously something more sinister behind that. As I say, it's a crime generator. And that's why I say this license should be refused today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deere. Now, technically speaking, that's the representations, and Mr. Panchal will make representations back, and then we go to summing up. But if we, Mr. Panchal, if you could obviously you've got right of reply to all of those points. If you can do that, and as part of your summing up as well. But obviously, go ahead, Mr. Pancho.
So do you want me to sum up or do?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can. You have the last right of reply. So if assuming
Pancho may have questions for the responsible authorities, yes. So sure. You might want to take those first.
Okay, all right, that's quite right. Thank you very much, Alison. So we'll do that then. Do you have any questions? Back to Mr. Deere first, Mr. Pancho.
Sorry, Chairman, I don't have any questions to Mr. Deere or Alice or Vicky. The reason being is we've discussed that in quite length.
Okay, fine, that's fine. Yeah.
So I'd rather not.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you'd like to make representations and sum up.
Okay. I haven't got any questions at the moment, but all I can say in my summing up report is you have heard my applicant's robust promotion of 4 licensing objectives, which is the concern of the responsible authorities and how the 4 licensing objectives will be promoted. You have heard from my own client that how well he will be promoting the 4. He understands, as you heard, what a drunken person is, and then you heard that why he's not going to be selling miniatures and why he's not going to be selling single cans to avoid those drunken people buying alcohol. You have also heard from my client that he's not going to sell anything above 5.5, which is the normal requirement of street drinkers. They tend to have a stronger alcohol to fulfill their requirements of becoming drunk, which he is not going to be dealing with. You also heard that he stayed in the area for 20 years. So he understands the local people there. He understands the local working in the Ealing Hospital for quite a long time. There's another specific thing that I'd like to bring. He was the front warrior during the COVID times when he served at the hospital.
No furlough.
And he
go for furlough.
Yeah, he didn't even apply. I've just been heard. I've been hearing he telling me that he did not apply for, did not ask for furlough. He just went there all the time. And his decision now is to say that, yes, I've done my job. I've been into the worst times in the hospital and would like to move forward now and move to the shop where he could feel that he's moved away from it. But he's not running away from the furlough thing from the hospital, but he's gradually going to give up that when things are better. And he's going to be giving his full time to the shop. He works in evening shifts at the hospital, so he does work late shifts at the hospital.
8 to 6.
8 to 6. So during the daytime, he's going to be giving more attention to the shop. He also has said to you that he's not going to be associated in any way with the freeholder. It's only the way he's going to be associated is he's going to pay his rent for the premises, and he's going to have his contract with the landlords, and nothing to do with his business. It is his independent business. So, Chairman, I feel that he should be given a chance to run these premises. You have seen how well he's going to be promoting and robustly promoting the 4 licensing objectives. He wants to work with the responsible authorities. When I say responsible authorities, he wants to meet Mr. Bob Deere, he wants to meet Vicky Harrison and Houston, sorry, and promote the 4 licensing objectives robustly. The shop is not going to open till August, September, till it has been refurbished. And during that period, my advice to him would be to get in touch with the responsible authorities if the license is granted, and to make sure we work along with the community as well as with the responsible authorities during that period. So that's my submission. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, I'm the chair. Yeah. Thank you. I believe that's it. Just one clarification for Misha and Alison. Do you have a note of the amendment that Mr. Gallant proposed about an hour less than the core hours. Do we have a note of that?
Yes, I've noted it down.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Councillors, before we, does anybody have any other contribution they wish to make before we retire?
Councillor Kelly.
Just bear with me. So, Mr. Dear, but obviously, Mr. Panchal will have right to reply last. Yeah.
It's just summing up, Chair, that's all.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Yeah, well, if you wish to sum up then, Mr. Dear, please do so now.
Yes, Chair. Obviously, you've obviously heard today's submissions from all sides, and including the local councillor, who obviously probably knows the ward a lot better than most of us. This premises, or this applicant, still employing the wife and the sister of the previous licence holder, stroke freeholder. The wife was warned for selling before hours on previous when they actually had a licence, and the sister has been present whilst goods have been seized from that shop. So they well involved in the criminality involved in that shop. I've seen nothing new in that operating schedule that allays any of my fears or fills me with any confidence that this premises will not go the same way. And as I said, I think the decision should be to refuse it in full. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You'll have an opportunity in a few moments, Mr. Panchal. Police team.
Thank you, Chair. Police have put their concerns in the representation. Police feel that it is down to the licensing committee to decide whether the premises licence is granted or not. The police do believe that they should not be granted a licence, but if you are mindful to grant the licence, then can I suggest that you look at maybe dropping the ABV to 5% due to the problems of street drinking in the area, and to look at maybe selling cans in 4s and not 2s. And as I've stated before, to put Mr. Thiruvakaran's name on it so that he's not allowed in the shop or to be part of the day-to-day running of the business. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So Mr. Panchal, if you'd like to sum up and respond to any of those points. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, the only response I would give is for the present moment is yes, we are saying that the license will be granted. We are happy to hear from Vicky that if the committee decides to grant the license, that the four cans, I'm quite happy to go to the 4 cans required by Vicky Newson's submissions. And if it was a 5.5 is a normal thing that we request, but so be it. We'll leave that to the committee to decide. But 5.5 is a normal thing that we tend to now part with all the premises around the area. But we are happy to go along with the responsible authorities, because we would like my client to work along with the responsible authorities.
Thank you. I don't believe there's any more now for any more. Alison, are you happy for us to retire now?
Yes, Chair, I think that's covered everything.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, now I make the time. Sorry, Councillor Block, have you got?
I've just seen that Anjali has her hand up.
Okay,
Yes.
I beg your pardon, Ms. Garcher, go ahead. You've been very patient.
Thank you. Can I just clarify a clerical point, please? I think the applicant stated that he lives in Hanwell.
Opposite Ealing Hospital.
Opposite Ealing Hospital.
In Hanwell.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
about,
well,
yeah.
I mean, it's a UB1 postcode, but
Yeah,
it's
just 2
sort
minutes
of
walk between.
it's sort of accepted that part opposite the hospital. It isn't technically in Hanwell, but it's sort of accepted that it's in the neighbourhood.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Obviously, we've just issued a personal license 8 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and it was state South on there.
It'll say UB1, won't it?
It says UB1 as 3 Angeli, it does says UB1.
Okay.
I mean, those handful of roads are closer to Hanwell Broadway, and the St Bernard's was called Hanwell Asylum. So I think we can accept that as part of Hanwell. We don't work for the postal service, but thank you very much, Angeli, for confirming that.
Thank you.
Okay, the time now is 7 minutes to 12. I will say we'll be back in confidence. We'll be back in an hour, 12:45. That will give us an opportunity to take a refresh, to take a breather, retire, consider decision. So we anticipate to be back at 12:45. But we reserve the right to take longer. So you'll all leave the room, and Misha will come back on approximately 12:40 to invite you back into the rooms. So thank you very much for your attendance. And for anybody who wishes to come back, I will see you at 12:45.